بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ربي زدنا علما ربي زدنا علما ربي زدنا علما وبعد. So before we begin this opportunity to share some knowledge, to share some what's been taken from our legacy and our inheritance from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this blessed majlis, this blessed virtual majlis, where we have an opportunity to graze inside the pasture lands of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like cattle munching away on that grass, followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just trying to chew on whatever remains of that knowledge that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left for us, which is our inheritance and our legacy. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله لا يقبض العلم انتزاعا ينتزعه من العباد ولكن يقبض العلم بقبض العلماء حتى إذا لم يبق عالما اتخذ الناس رؤوسا جهالا فسئلوا فأفتوا بغير علم فضلوا أضلوا. حديث متفق عليه. So a hadith that's related by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhuma, who said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, surely Allah does not seize knowledge suddenly, snatching away from the slaves, but he seizes knowledge by seizing the ulama, by taking the ulama, until he leaves no scholar, and people take ignorant leaders. So they give verdicts without knowledge. They themselves are misguided and they will lead others. And so that's the importance of having these gatherings. There's a lot of ru'asa juhalan. There's so many of them now, especially on these type of forums. There's so many people that people will take as their leaders in religion, who in reality is ignorant folk. And ignorance does not necessarily mean that they have no knowledge. Like one of my shuyukh, one of my teachers, he said, it's only learned people who can lead people astray. It's only learned people who can lead people astray. People will pay no attention to somebody who knows nothing. But it's a person who has knowledge, but he's mixed it with his own nafs, with his own ego. And he becomes important as opposed to the knowledge of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's so many of those around now. And that's the reason why we're compelled. Like for me personally, I prefer just to sit in a classroom and just teach all day long, because that's where the ladha is, that's where the enjoyment is. But the needs of the times requires us to have these type of sessions where we share whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with, and hoping for forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if ever we say anything out of place. Inshallah, none of you hold us to account if we make a mistake in what we speak, because perfection is only with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So let's look at some of the questions that have come through. Imran Hussein, Allah Ibarak, may Allah bless you, and may Allah keep us all guided to love of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in these times of darkness, where the world is enveloped and has submerged people, it's so nice to see somebody, so pleasing to see somebody who has a passion for learning. So Imran's question there, Jazakallah kulla khair, may Allah bless him and reward him. Will one be doomed and forever cut off from Islamic sacred texts and scholarship? One learns Arabic in a modern way and not the Dars Nizami way of memorizing lots of grammar rules and tables. Memorizing can't be avoided in language learning, but do you think it's necessary to memorize 5 books in Sarf and 5 in Nahu in order to be among those who study and teach the Qur'an and be close to God? Also, is it true that texts like the Ajami are meant for native Arabic speakers and not non-native ones? Barakallah feekum, Allah barik feekum. Shaykh Imran, Hafizakallah. Difference in approach and methodology. That's essentially what it is, a difference in approach and methodology. So the way of many across the non-Arabic speaking world is to focus upon mastering grammar and morphology and rules of language without really immersing themselves within language itself. We cannot say that taking it in that way doesn't enable a person to understand the Qur'an and Sunnah to get closer to God. You can't say that. Difference in methodology. Even like Imam al-Dhahabi in Sirah A'lam al-Nubala, he mentions the likes of the great Imam of the Salaf, Ata ibn Abi Rabah. He said he had a ujma in his kalam. He wasn't a fluent Arabic speaker. He reached the highest of levels in terms of knowledge. So it's a methodology. It works for many. But to say that's the only way, far from it. There are different syllabi and methodologies that have been adopted by the ulama. Dars Nizami is one system that was set in place by Shah Waliullah Dahlawi, rahimahullah ta'ala, and it served. It's produced many great scholars in the later days of the Ummah. So, but to say that's the only way, and you have to memorize books of Sarf and books of Nahu and so on, to be restrictive like that perhaps is not correct. Is it true that Ajrumi were meant for native Arabics? Not necessarily. Not native ones. There's no doubt it was written in a particular context. But to say that the books that were written, like Ibn Ajrumi is a Maghribi scholar, say that can't really be studied by somebody who's not from the Arab world, no. That's not, Allah, that doesn't make any sense there. So the first question, as a local community will inshallah complete the Qur'an by the end of the month. Each person has read a juz with their own intention. In Hanif madhab, how do you perform a Qur'an Khatam? Allahu, I don't think that's madhab based. It's more a practice of the Salaf that came. So when you come to a Khatam of the Qur'an, what's confirmed from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that from Surah al-Duha to the end of the Qur'an, you do takbir. That's the way the Prophet, Imam Shafi said, sunnah of your Rasul. It's a sunnah of your messenger. You say, Allahu Akbar, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wad-duha. With every surah you do takbir. And some say more than La ilaha illallah, Wallahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's the first that you say takbir with every surah. Almost like from wad-duha. It's generally held to be from wad-duha to the end of the Qur'an. By doing takbir, and it gives a sense of happiness and joy, glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala greater than everything, that He's enabled to get you to get to the end of the Qur'an in your journey through the Qur'an. And then when you get to the end of the Qur'an, Sunnah of the Prophet clearly confirmed from him is that he spoke about al-hal wal-murtahid. Al-hal wal-murtahid. Spoke about the best of deeds is the one who arrives and then departs. When they asked him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when they asked him, what's al-hal wal-murtahil, the one who arrives and departs? He, salawatu rabbi wa salamuhu alayhi, he said, the one who when he finishes the Qur'an starts again. So it's a sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when you finish, you read al-Fatiha, and then you read the first 5 verses of Surah al-Baqarah, with the intention being that the Qur'an is a constant loop. You never stop. You just start again. You're on the next journey through the Qur'an, and you keep on going. And inshallah ta'ala, it never stops until your dying breath. And we ask Allah to make everybody who's present here, from those whose dying breath is with the Qur'an. As they leave in this world, they read the Qur'an. And then make dua. Because the Prophet spoke about dua mustajab and the khatm al-Qur'an. That dua is accepted when finishing the Qur'an. Wallahu a'lam. طيب. Anonymous attending. Sorry, Mitchell, inshallah, I'm going to come back to you because you got a lot of questions there. So Mitchell, I'll come back to you, inshallah. In regards to ablution, is there any dislike when washing a limb and drying it before washing the other? For example, washing your right foot and then drying it with a towel before washing your left foot. Is there anything in regards to the previous limb having to be wet for it to be confirmed sunnah, or would the above still fall under sunnah continuity? That would still fall under sunnah of continuity, because when the fuqaha said that the sunnah is to be continuous, such that you wash the next limb before the previous one is dry, it means drying naturally. It means drying naturally. If you washed your face and then took a towel and straight away dried it, then wash your arms, you haven't broken the sunnah. That's more about a length of time. It's not actual drying. So that would still fall under sunnah of continuity. Anonymous attendee. Wa alaikum salam. I was wondering if you could talk about what is appropriate to adorn a person's grave with. Sunnah of the Prophet is not to adorn graves. Sunnah of the Prophet is not to adorn graves. Graves are meant to be simple homes of those who moved on. So decorating and adorning graves and so on, that's considered makruh to do. And even in the books of fiqh, it's the Hanafi books, they mention وَيُكْرَهُ الْبِنَاءُ عَلَى الْقُبُورِ لِلزِّينَةِ. So to practice with the graves of the awliya and the sahaba and anbiya in the later generations across the ummah, that they built tombs over the graves. But they say that's makruh, tahreem, severely disliked to be done if it's to adorn and decorate the grave. Because so that's adorning and decorating graves is for the living, it's not for the dead. So with the purpose of adorning and decorating, that's not how graves are meant to be. Husni, why are you dressed like a Shia? Because I know you're a lover of them, that's why. I know you love deviants. Allah. Mitchell, I'm going to go through, I'll try and answer yours one at a time. You'll never walk alone, mashallah. Good man. Sunday with champions. 2 cups of coffee. Jazakallah khair. No, we've agreed to meet at the Rawdah. We're not meeting at Rawdah. Rawdah is after. Okay, very good question. I'm gonna jump between them. So Mitchell, number 4, is there an utterance we can say for expressing such gratitude to Allah while we're doing ibadah or busy with work, i.e. while fasting, washing the dishes, etc. Alhamdulillahi hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazida. Say that. Alhamdulillahi hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazida. Praise be to Allah with the praise that repays the favor and returns back the extra. Because if you're thankful to me, I'll give you more. So you need to be thankful for the favor and the more. And it is related that if a person says that 3 times in a day, that he's shown gratitude to Allah for all that he does. So say that regularly. It's part of the aura. It's from the Prophet ﷺ. Alhamdulillah hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazida. Anonymous attendee, everybody's anonymous. I work in a pharmacy. Is it permissible for us as Muslims to supply the morning after pill or contraception in general? Is the pharmacist supplying the morning after pill as sin? To supply this can be considered as abortion. Jazakallah khair. The answer from my teacher, Shaykh Samar al-Nas hafidhahullah ta'ala, he simply said it's allowed. When he was asked that question, he said it's allowed. And it's not considered sinful to do so. Al-ma'siyatu la taqumu fi dhatihi. That's a contract, a sale contract. That person may choose to use it, may choose not to use it. It can be used in a lawful manner, it can be used in a prohibited manner. So the contract itself, there is no haram with it. You sold it. That person that chooses to do haram with that, that's not your sin. That's that person's wrong. Wallahu a'lam. Michio, I'm just going to jump back and forth. Also, should we express more gratitude than istighfar? Inshallah ta'ala, next week in the Qur'an session, we're going to look at Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Idha Ja'a Nasrullah. So that discussion will come in Idha Ja'a Nasrullah, where the discussion around Sabbih bihamdi rabbika, that's glorifying the praise of your Lord, that's showing gratitude, wastaghfirhu, and ask forgiveness. So there'll be discussion around that point. Anonymous attendee, how can we hold on to faith and dispel doubts as young people who have grown up with ideas from modern feminism, gender and identity issues and cultural patriarchy? You know, the problem with that, the problem with all of that is that we've been raised distant from revelation and distant from our legacy. So everything, all of our ideas and understandings are coming from people whose beliefs are completely at odds with everything that the Messenger came with. And so if you have a generation raised by secularists, by liberalists, by unbelief, by agnostics, by atheists, taught by them from school, from nursery all the way up until university, it'd be a shock then if they turn out to be Muslims at the end of it. It'd be a miracle if at the end of all of that they're still Muslims, still firm in the faith. That's the miracle. So the simple solution to that is that now that you're at an age of understanding, and you realize that a lot of what you're taking on is completely alien to your religion and to revelation itself, is that you immerse yourself back into revelation. You weren't raised in the understanding of Qur'an and Sunnah, the understanding of the Messenger. You weren't raised on that. So now, Bismillah, start engaging with the Qur'an. Start engaging with the Sunnah of the Prophet. And when you go to engage with it, surrender yourself. Leave aside all of those things. لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله. All those believe, don't go ahead of Allah. Don't go to the Quran and say, no, that ayah doesn't make sense to me, so I'm going to struggle with that. Or this hadith, don't you come with all your baggage of kufr that you carry in your mind and start start casting doubt upon Quran and Sunnah, whereas in reality the doubt is in you. Come, leave your intellect at the door and submit to Allah and the Messenger. Leave your intellect in the door, and inshallah ta'ala, by that submission, Allah and the Messenger through the Quran and Sunnah will cleanse from your heart all of those doubts that have been left in your heart. ولو أنا كتبنا عليهم أن اقتلوا أنفسكم أو اخرجوا من دياركم ما فعلوه إلا قليل منهم ولو أنهم فعلوا ما يوعظون به لكان خيرا لهم أشد تثبيتا. ولو أنا كتبنا عليهم, had we required them to kill themselves, or to abandon your homes, to kill yourselves or abandon your homes, only a few would have done it. That's Qur'an. You come into the Quran, you say, like, whoa, what's Allah saying there? Allah says, like, if we required to do, only few of you have done it. وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ فَعَلُوا مَا يُوعَظُونَ بِهِ لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ وَأَشَدَّ تَثْبِيرًا. But if they'd done what they've been told to do, it'd be better for them. be better for them. Doesn't matter whether your intellect accepts it or not. Cleanse yourself in the purifying waters of Qur'an and Sunnah. Imam Husni, what are you doing to me? Rawdah, can you get rid of him, please? Allah. Anonymous attendee, Walim Sam, do you have any good tips on how to revise knowledge of Deen effectively so that it is easily remembered? I'm a student at Michael Madrasa and sometimes find it difficult to find ways to memorize things. Allah. The best, the most powerful way to retain knowledge, like Imam al-Qurtubi, he says, بِالتَّأْلِيفِ وَالتَّدْرِيسِ, by writing and by teaching. By writing and by teaching. Now, because you're still a student at Michael Madrasa, despite what some of the students think, there's some of the things that the shuyukh before they come in. Despite, so you're probably not ready to do full-on teaching, but you should. The key point in writing and teaching is that you share your knowledge. You share what you learn. It could be just a simple discussion about this is what I learned today. You keep on repeating to others what you learned, it'll stick in your head. They'll stick in your head. You can sit there, rote memory, keep on going over it. It won't stick. The moment you start speaking to somebody about what you've learned, but being faithful to what you've learned, not putting your own little spin on it, being faithful to what you've learned, then you'll retain it. So just find somebody to talk to. One of my shuyukh, Shaykh Adnan Darwish, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, when I mentioned to him that, I said, I saw Imam al-Qurtubi said this, ta'leef wa tadris, writing and teaching. He said, teaching. He's a teacher. Now he said from my own experience, he said, because he's an author of many works, Shaykh Adnan, and he's a teacher of many shuyukh. But he said, the thing that retains him more than anything else is sharing what you've learned. And Habib Umar, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he's mentioned something similar, but he says, I think it's one of his students mentioned to me that he said, 80% of what you learn, you'll lose unless you teach it. So teaching here, because you said that you're still a student at Michael Madrasa, means sharing. means sharing. Allahu Alam. Safiya Sulaiman. How's Fatima doing? MashaAllah? I haven't heard from her for a while. MashaAllah. Wa alaikum salam. Are we able to acknowledge from those who may not necessarily have a chain of transmission? No. We shouldn't. Find out about the rijal, find out about the people they've taken from. If you know that their shuyukh are happy with them, then take from them. It's not necessarily ijazas, because we've got people everywhere just running after ijazas, like Husnain and others, mashallah, Aqil, and just running after pieces of paper to say that signed off by somebody, say that. No, it's not that. I say, as he sat in the presence of a sheikh and studied and taken from and absorbed from, and if he's done that, and then the sheikh himself is telling people, take from him, then you should take from him. Other than that, هذا العلم دين فانظروا عمن تأخذون دينكم. This knowledge is religion, so watch where you take your knowledge from. This is about akhirah. This is about the next world. It's not about the most intelligent guy you can figure out. It's not academic knowledge. This is prophetic knowledge. So it needs verified chains of transmission and chains of transmission of rijal. Now, what's an isnad? Isnad is dhikr rijal. What's a chain? By definition, the muhaddithin, the scholars of hadith, said an isnad, a chain of transmission, just a list of men and women that you've taken it from. So there has to be chains of transmission. And as an example of that, and I think we touched upon this in some of these Qur'an classes, if you sat there and you've memorized the whole of the Qur'an because you've got a phenomenal memory, you are not a hafiz of Qur'an. You're not hafiz of Qur'an because you have no chain. When you hafiz of Qur'an, when you sat and read the whole of the Qur'an to a half of the Qur'an, then you're a half of the Qur'an, because now it's been verified that you've memorized the whole of the Qur'an. Allah, let's just move along. Ya Habibi, Ya Tabibi. Anonymous attendee, why has Allah created us to worship in this world when there's so much suffering? A person should first ask the question, are there signs that there is a creator? Are there sufficient signs that there is a creator? Then if you look at everything and you're absolutely convinced that you yourself are a sign of a creator and everything around you is a sign of creator, and the absurdity of saying that it just all came from nothing, or it's always existed when it didn't have to exist. When you've come to the conclusion that there is a creator, then you're not really in a position to dictate to the creator how he created. If he just decided that I'm going to create a world of no suffering, without a world of suffering, that's his choice. You accept that there's a being beyond, the supernatural being that we term as God, who's revealed himself to creation. And you're completely convinced of that. But then a person starts having doubt. But then how could there be a God if there's suffering? Why would they do that? That's not logical. That's warped logic. That's warped logic. I say a world of no pain and suffering. Yes, that's called paradise. That's called paradise. But he's decided that there's a world of test with his hardship, with his difficulty, with his suffering, to confirm whether you're worthy of it. He could easily have said, no, I don't want any of that. I'll just put you all in paradise. He could have done that. Or he could have just decided not to create anything. They're all options. There's nothing binding upon him. لا يسأل عما يفعل وهم يسألون. He's not asked about anything that he does, but they're asked about what they do. So take it back to the beginning point. Is there a creator? There's enough proofs. There's clear signs of that. And then after that, then just leave it at that. Don't start dictating to him how he must do it or how he must not. So yeah, I'm trying. Anonymous attendees are permitted to tweeze the eyebrows. Depends what exactly you mean by tweezing the eyebrows. If it means thinning them, the majority of the Imams said it's forbidden to do that, and this hadith where the Prophet condemned that. But Sayyidina Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, he considered to be acceptable. So it can't be categorically condemned, because where you have a difference of views, then it's acceptable. So Imam Malik allowed that, but the majority, they say, because the Prophet hadith means that he cursed a woman who has that done. So if you mean about thinning the eyebrows, then it's permissible according to one of the Imams. Okay. Anonymous attendee, it is sinful for a couple not to have children or delay having children due to their circumstances, i.e. living with the in-laws, and due to space and upbringing approach of in-laws. In general, it is sinful to delay having children or not have them. The couple do not feel ready. No, it's not sinful. Perhaps the point where you can say it's sinful is where a person or a couple say, we can't afford to have children. Because there now they have an issue with al-Razaq subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the provider subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if there are different, if the circumstances, like some of them that you mentioned, perhaps the most important, out of all circumstances, the most important is a fear of raising children in lands of kufr. The fear of raising children in these type of societies where even in the best of homes, the most God-fearing of homes, there's a strong chance that your kids are going to go off the rails. So in a situation like that, it's recommended to have more children. It's encouraged. The Prophet encouraged it, but he did not make a wajib, did not make a fard upon that couple to do so. So as long as it's not like fighting against or out of worry of money, نحن نرزقكم وإياهم ولا تقتلوا أولادكم خشية إنفاق أو إملاق خشية إملاق نحن نرزقكم وإياهم. Don't kill your children out of fear of poverty. We will provide for you and for them. We will provide for you and for them. Wallahu a'lam. Allah. What is the best advice to those who engage in religious debates online? Is it best to avoid them altogether, even if people are saying incorrect things? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Yeah, avoid them. Avoid them. And it perhaps could fall in the rule of being fard to avoid a lot of religious debates. For too many people, their iman is not strong enough for them to be able to cope with statements that could be made. Are you listening to a Muslim debating a Christian? Is your iman strong enough that you're listening there that nothing's going to come from him that's going to shake you? Because we've seen too many people getting shaken right now. The crisis in the ummah right now is a crisis of faith. That's the crisis. It's not political. It's not all the protests going on and so on. That's not the crisis of the ummah. The crisis of the ummah is that in swathes, people are losing their faith. It's a crisis of faith. So unless you're somebody strong, I don't consider myself to be strong. Well, alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me with a little. Sometimes I listen to debates and I need to go and check on certain things because I don't have the answer to it. But alhamdulillah, I've been surrounded by teachers, mashallah, who are a protective force in this war of apostasy right now. So I have a recourse at all times. When I come across something, research, or refer it back to somebody and so on. But then it makes me think sometimes that I'm watching this, and alhamdulillah, I've got places and people to refer it back to, but there are people who've got none of that, and they're going in there thinking we're smart people, but you're not smart if you don't know the first thing about Allah and His Messenger. Stay away from religious debates unless you yourself are grounded in them. And when you're grounded in knowledge, you realize that a lot of that is just entertainment. People go onto these Facebook debates and YouTube debates just to be entertained, because we're the people now just love entertainment. Lestu min ad-dadi wa ad-dadu minni. That's what the Prophet said. Lestu min ad-dad wa ad-dadu minni. Lestu min al-lahb wa al-la'ib wa al-la'ib wa al-lahu minni. Prophet said, I'm not from entertainment, nor is entertainment from me. Allah, stay away from them. Stay away from them. Even if they're saying things incorrect. If they're saying things incorrect, are you in a position where you can correct it? If you are, then yes. But up until that point, stay away from it. Allahumma salli ala al-Mustafa. Is there a dua, anything I can recite to be blessed with righteous children and struggling to conceive? Yes, there's a number of du'as from the Qur'an. Look for the dua of Zakaria alayhi salam. The dua of Zakaria alayhi salam in Surah Ali Imran. Rabbi habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyibatan innaka sami'ud du'a. Rabbi, my Lord, habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyibah. Grant to me from yourself a purified offspring. إِنَّكَ سَمِيعُ الدُّعَاء. Truly you are the one who hears, I accepts supplication. رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. That's also the dua of Zakaria alayhi salam that comes in Surah Al-Anbiya. رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. My Lord, do not leave me alone without anybody. And you're the best of those who inherit, like those who give inheritance, like sons and daughters. The end of Surah Al-Furqan, رَبَّنَا يا فاطم. What's up? ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. Our Lord, grant us from our wives and our children those who are pleasing to our eyes, and make us as leaders for the believers. So those are a number of du'as for somebody struggling to conceive. Let's go back to the beginning. Hold on, so now I'm just moving through. Let's come back to Michio. Number 2, during one of your sessions, did you mention a dua from the Qur'an where it helps controlling one's rage? That's not a dua from the Qur'an, it's a dua from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I share the du'as, but I don't think it's enough time. So I'll repeat it again. Allahumma adhib ghayza qalbi wa ajirni min mudillat al-fitan. Allahumma adhib ghayza qalbi. O Allah, remove the rage from my heart. Wa ajirni min mudillat al-fitan. Ay min al-fitan al-mudilla. And protect me from tribulations that misguide, that mislead. Our teacher Habib Kazim al-Saqqaf, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he said it's encouraged to read that 7 times after Fajr. 7 times a day after Fajr. Which reminds me to share from him. It's about a few days ago, about 3-4 days ago, he shared a wird, a dhikr to read as a protection from the virus, because now it's beginning to affect Yemen and Tahrir and so on. And it's still there. So he said after every fard prayer, but especially Maghrib and Fajr, a person reads 7 times, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ فَإِنْ تَوَلَّوْا فَقُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ عَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْتُ وَهُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. The last 2 verses, Surah At-Tawbah, read 7 times after every fard prayer, but he said especially after Maghrib and Fajr, and inshaAllah ta'ala, with yaqeen in your heart, with certainty in your heart, Allah will protect you from the virus that spread. Anonymous attendee, wa alayhi salam, you spoke about legacy in Surah Al-Kawthar, but can you tell me about parents who have children with disabilities, mental incapacity? I know that the prayers of children are the legacy of parents when they die. Imam al-Juwayni, Imam al-Haramain, the Shaykh al-Ghazali, one of the Shaykh Imam al-Ghazali, أَلَمْ يَرَوْا آلَامَهُ الْأَطْفَالَ. And he mentions that the pain and suffering that a child goes through in reality is reward and raising of the rank of parents who are patient through that suffering. The reality is, if you yourself are harmed and hurt, it's easier to take than if your children are, because the children, they are your heart. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will on occasions test and raise a person through their children. The highest example of that, you attend Surah Al-Kawthar. The Prophet loses his son Al-Qasim, he loses his son Abdullah at a young age, he loses his son Ibrahim. That's the ultimate losing, but that's mafatih al-Jannah, the keys of Jannah for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes away thamaratu fu'adik, the fruit of your heart. But why? So that the door of Jannah is open for you. So when you see children suffering, الصبر عند الصدمة الأولى. Just be patient with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He could have willed for you to have a son or a daughter of complete health, but وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, they deny Allah and His Messenger, and that son or daughter, what have they done for you? Nothing. Whereas that son or daughter who dies young, who is disabled, incapable, and so on, they're blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All children are blessings from Allah, but they are true blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Adam Khan, how should one go about finding a spouse in a halal manner rather than turn to arrange marriages from back home, Pakistan, etc.? Should one turn to sites such as singlemuslims.com and these WhatsApp groups that people say pay to have their bio sent to interested parties? It's about building up a network around you. You need to have a network of people that you trust. It could be your teachers, it could be friends, it could be friends who are married, and there's a network around them. So it's about tapping into that. Going online is dangerous because it's too random. You don't know anything about them. So it's about networks around you of people that you trust, and then inshallah ta'ala, tawakkalu ala Allah, rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب. About 7 years ago, I was a bit confused when in one of your classes you said, if I understand correctly, that we should not make a random sajdas. That would be considered a bid'ah. But generally, when we move in Sufi circles, we see a lot of things such as hadra. So is sajda a special case? Thanks. There are certain practices which some of the ulama will categorize as bid'ah makruha because it has no asl from the Prophet ﷺ, because there's no basis from the Prophet ﷺ, and it goes against certain principles in religion. So that what was mentioned is a view that's mentioned by some of the Hanifis and some of the ulama, that a person for no reason just decides, I want to do a sajdah. Just for no reason, just overwhelmed and does a sajdah. Some of them hold that as a bid'ah makruha, as a discouraged, disliked practice. Although note here when the fuqaha say it's not like the modern language of bid'ah, no. It just means that it's discouraged to be done because it doesn't have a precedent from the Prophet ﷺ. Others will say la yu'maru bihi wa la yunha anhu. It's not, you don't advise people to do it, but you don't forbid people from doing it because it has an asl within deen, because it does exist in religion, like sajdat al-shukr and sajdat tilawa and so on. So Allahu a'lam. So it's not something peculiar to sajda. A lot of these practices where you cannot trace it back to the Prophet ﷺ, you look at it within the lens of Sharia generally. Some will then say it's bid'ah. An example, like what's stated in the Hanafi books, musafaha ba'da salah, and you find this in masjids. After the Jama'ah prayer, Imam stands at the front and people go around and give salam, shaking hands. The Hanafi states it as bid'ah. After more particularly, they said it's makruh to do that, because they said that doesn't have a basis from the Prophet, even though shaking hands does in a general sense, but they stated that as being makruh. Wallahu a'lam. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة. Okay, a few questions on mortgages. I understand, what are your views on mortgages? The general view, and it's the view that I hold as well, is that it's forbidden, because mortgage is just it's clear example of interest, so it's forbidden. That's the general view. And that's the view that I hold. That it's forbidden to do that. A couple of people asked about a Rayyan bank, and although for all appearance it just looks like playing around with terms, but what it's doing is it's restructuring the contract. So if you restructure a contract, which itself is haram, but you structure it in a manner that's different, it'll make it lawful, even though the outcome is exactly the same. So Rayyan, instead of paying interest, you're paying a rent, and there's a musharaka system, diminished partnership or ownership, that makes it lawful. The argument that it's a lot more expensive, which it is, doesn't really hold. You got a slice of bacon and you got a slice of meat. Bacon's dirt cheap and the meat is very expensive. It's an issue of halal and haram. It's not the issue of cost. Wallahu alam. So generally, I hold the view of many of my teachers, which is that mortgage is haram. Adam Khan, is it permissible to lease a car where there is no interest involved, or is it considered a waste because you don't keep the car and you're essentially renting it because you have to give it back at the end of the lease? Leasing is an accepted contract that's been there from the beginning of humanity, al-ijara. And the idea of leasing, it's the same. Leasing a car is the same as renting a property. So the idea that simply being is that you can't afford to buy it outright, so somebody else has it. They're charging you for using it. That's like one of the most ancient of all human contracts. So if you now decide that's a waste of time, that's your personal. If you decide like paying for a car, you may need it. You may need it for a year or two, and you can't afford it. So instead of buying something outright, instead of borrowing money, you just rent that car or you lease the car. That's your choice. Allahumma salli alayhi. Hiram Iqbal, alayhi salam. What is the correct viewpoint on organ donation? Is it allowed, or are you allowed to give and receive? There's different views amongst the ulama. Quite a few of the scholars here are involved in this here in England. They're given fatwa that it's allowed both ways, giving and receiving. But I hold, and so that's there. But I hold the view of my teacher, Shaykh Samar al-Nas, who said it's forbidden. He said it's forbidden unless it's directly saving a Muslim life. Unless it's directly saving a Muslim life, he said it's forbidden. Wallahu, and that's the general view that I hold. But the caveat to that is that there are many ulama now here, in particular in the UK, who are giving fatwa that's allowed, and so that's a view that's out there. Anonymous attendee, I'm trying to ensure that my prayers are consistent, but when I fall short of this, I go into deep state of sadness and depression, to the point where I really struggle to start my day. What advice can be given when one falls into the state and to overcome a deep sense of shame and sadness? I am a mother of 2 kids, and I feel when I go into this state, it affects me looking after them all. Alhamdulillah. Washkurillah ala hada. Be thankful to Allah for this. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Ahmadillah. Praise Allah for this state. Don't lose it. We're in an age now where not praying is so normal that people don't feel the effect of it, even though it's the worst thing that a person can do. فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. After them came a generation who abandoned the prayer and followed their فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيَّ, followed their passion. Soon they will face a hellfire. People are just so oblivious to this and so numb to the effect of not praying and so on that it's just just totally normal. People are easy talking about, I've got so many qada to do. It's just a fact of life now. Worst state of belief it can be in. So alhamdulillah, I don't lose that sense that you feel sad and you feel depressed and you feel down. That's good. That's a ruh that's still tayyibah. That's a soul that's still in a good place. So when you fall into that state of sadness and shame and so on, just cry in front of Allah. Cry in front of Allah. Be broken in front of Allah. أَنَا عِنْدَ الْمُنْكَسِرَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ مِنْ أَجْلِي. I am with those whose hearts are broken for my sake. No, such mashallah, mashallah. May Allah grant us all that state. Ameen. What does giving bayah to a Sufi Shaykh entail? What is meant by giving bayah and what becomes of one who does it? What's the difference between giving bayah in a tariqah and receiving a wird or gaining ijaz in a tariqah? What are the old saying? Bayah is a system. It's a system of allegiance that was developed where a murid, a spiritual disciple, takes the hand of his shaykh, entrusting him to guide him in his path and journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it became more formal later, as with most disciplines of Islam, they became more formal later generations. So that's the idea of bayah. Bayah is a pledge of allegiance that's given to a shaykh. Call him a Sufi Shaykh, call him whatever you want. Just the essential idea is that he's a murabbi, he's a guide, he's somebody who's on the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who's able to take people along that path. So that's the meaning of bayah. You give a pledge of allegiance that you're going to obey the shaykh in terms of the awrad and the a'mal, in terms of the act of worship that he instructs you to do, over and above the essential obligations of religion. What becomes of the one who does it? Inshallah ta'ala, if the sidq, if the sincerity from him, then inshallah he'll quicken him on his journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'll become a better person spiritually through that. But then just to add to that, it's not a shart for a Muslim, it's not a condition for a Muslim that he must give bay'ah. So al-bay'ah was sahbah. Al-bay'ah, if you give a pledge of allegiance to a shaykh and you're convinced that he's going to be able to help you, then that's one thing. But if you're not convinced of that, or you're not ready for it, or whatever, then so you still need to purify yourself, because the goal is tazkiyat an-nafs, is purify, or yuzakkihim. His lesson came to purify. Al-ihsan, it's about the spiritual excellence. Sohbatul akhyar turithu husn al-dhanni bil ashrar. That's Ibn Ata'illah. So keeping the company of righteous. If you're not ready to take the hand of a shaykh to guide you, then keep the company of the righteous, those who are better than you know to be. Just spend time mulazama, spend time with them, so be with them regularly, and their state will raise your state. They'll change something within you. As Ibn Ata'illah, he said, "Sohbatul akhyar turithu husn al-dhanni bil ashrar." The company of the righteous will result in a good opinion of the worst of people. But he also said the opposite. He said, وَالصُّحْبَةُ الْأَشْرَارِ تُورِثُ سُوءَ الظَّنِّ بِالْأَخْيَارِ. Company of the worst of people results in a bad opinion of the best of people. Allahu A'lam. Al-bay'ah was-suhbah. I take the hand of a shaykh that you're convinced can guide you. A shaykh of sharia and haqiqah. A shaykh who's somebody grounded within the law of Allah and His Messenger, because he's pointing you to Allah and His Messenger. So he himself must be grounded in the law of Allah and His Messenger, and he has a high spiritual reality, or suhbah. Alayhi salam. I've seen people pray certain prayers such as Dhuhr, Maghrib, Isha differently. For Dhuhr they pray 4 sunnah, 4 fard, and 4 sunnah. For Maghrib they pray 3 fard and 4 sunnah. With Isha they read 4 sunnah, 4 fard, 4 sunnah, 3 witr. What's agreed upon in terms of salawat, in terms of prayers, is the fard. The fard is, in terms of prayer, there's a total agreement. Fajr is 2 fard, Dhuhr is 4, Asr is 4, Maghrib is 3, Isha is 4. There you have no dispute. That's ijma' al-ummah, that's ijma' qat'i. If you start rejecting that, there's an issue with your faith, because that's unquestionable. Well, witr and sunnahs, you have range of views. Witr, according to the Hanifis, Abu Hanifa, 3 rak'ah, nothing less, nothing more. But then Shafi'i says allowed as 1. All of them say it can be done as more. It can be 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. And then 2 rak'ahs before Fajr, that's generally accepted. The majority states, Abu Hanif says 4 sunnahs before Dhuhr. The majority say 2 sunnahs before Dhuhr. So once you move into sunnahs, then there are different views about that because of different understandings of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Musarrad Zia wa alaykum salam. Please could you clarify how an individual can share knowledge they acquire from the teacher without becoming misguided? It's not the question of without becoming misguided. The first question is without making mistakes. So at the beginning, whilst you're still studying, especially whilst you're still studying, to avoid repeatedly making mistakes, you just relay what you heard. And as you said before, don't add things in. And when somebody comes and asks you, but what about this? خلاص, like, قف على الحدود. اعرف حدودك. Like, stop at the boundaries and know your boundaries, know your limits. If you're just something like a parrot, just repeating back what you've heard, then inshallah ta'ala you're safe. Although with that, it's still safer that you still consult your teacher and confirm that your teacher feels that you're okay to do that. That's still safer. But then another point, like the question about becoming misguided. If you doesn't matter how long you've been studying or teaching, never break connections from your teachers, because they're the ones who will stop you from being misguided. They're the ones who will put you in your place. Like, they're the ones who will control your ego. They will control your ego. Never break yourself from your teachers. I'm a Shaykh. Amazon Kindle uses something called electronic ink. Yeah. They use electricity to charge ink capsules on a grid. The ink will not change unless you pass another current through it. I don't know the answer to that. I'll look into that, inshallah ta'ala. That's what al-fatwa, that's a question of fatwa. So I don't know the answer to that. Inshallah, it's worth looking into that. So maybe we have another session every 2 weeks. We're having this session, so inshallah, perhaps in 2 weeks' time, come back with something on that. But it's an interesting question. Why in Islam is it permissible to practice yoga in Islam, considering its links to Hinduism? No, it's not. No, it's not. Because it's direct. And because it's direct connection to a religious practice of another faith. And that religious practice is part of the of yoga itself, then it becomes forbidden to do so. Imran, Shaykh Imran, Hafidhakallah, sorry to bother you again, but would you recommend the 3-volume Medina Islamic University books? If you're talking about learning spoken language, I don't really encourage them, but in truth, speak to Imam Husnain, but in truth, it's not about the books, it's about the teacher. You need somebody who's just going to sit there and talk to you. To learn how to speak a language, you need to be immersed in the language. So you need somebody to sit there and talk to you about it and show you how to use language, show you how to construct it. Going through a set of books, it's an academic exercise. Medina books, Al-Arabi lil-Nashi'in Bayna Yadayk, Al-Arabiya or Kitab al-Sajdas. There's loads of different books that are out there. It's not the books. It's the way that you engage with the language. That's it. Like, you need to lose yourself in that language. La ilaha illallah, Allah. Jenny, what is the fard of covering for women when outside? The fard, the obligation of covering when outside, are in the presence of ghayr muharim, in the presence of unrelated males. It is fard bil ijma', by consensus. It is fard by consensus that she covers everything except for her face, her hands, up to her wrists, and her feet. There you have some discussion. Everything. So the whole of her head, the neck, the body, all the way down to her ankles. That's the obligation, bil ijma', by consensus. There is no other view on this, and anybody says anything else, it's talking nonsense, talking absolute nonsense. So that's the fard of covering. But then in an additional point, وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they should not go out displaying themselves like in the first stage of ignorance. Like women going out with makeup, women going out with everything on them, women spraying perfume over them to make them look as attractive and smell as attractive as possible, wearing tight clothes even though covered up and so on. That also falls under hurma. That also falls under prohibition. So it's not just about ensuring she's covered. It's not just that, it's also about ensuring that she doesn't wear tight clothes, that she doesn't beautify herself to the point where she becomes a source of attraction. Wallahu a'lam. La ilaha illallah. Is it true that wudu does not have to be done in the correct order? That's the view of the Hanafis, yes. The view of the Hanafis is that it's sunnah to keep to the order, but it's not fard. So if you washed your feet first and then did the rest of it, although it's discouraged because the Prophet, whenever he did wudu, always kept it in order, but it will not invalidate. It will not. It's still a valid wudu. Aman, you're such a bad lad, you are. What's that GGMU? Husnain Yaqub, can you respond to Yasir Qadhi's statement, please? It's important for the awam on here. Like I mentioned in the tafsir class just before, inshallah, ask you all to make dua that Allah enables me to produce something that's not like a response to this, but just a series of clips that will clarify some essential points around Qur'an, because people are getting shaken in the very core issues of faith. So inshallah ta'ala, in terms of just as a protection for, but the idea that there's some uncertainty about aspects of the Qur'an in terms of transmission, is completely false. Completely false, right? Anybody who learns anything about the Qur'an, they will know that it is a stipulation of the Qur'an that it has to be what's termed mutawatir, right? It has to be large numbers. Every single letter of the Qur'an and every different way that it's read has to be transmitted sufficient numbers that there can be no possibility of any error that could creep into it. So saying that there's some doubt about one or two potential readings of the Qur'an, dialects or variants of the Qur'an, that's a false statement. Everything is authentically confirmed through large numbers as having been read by the Prophet, and the different ways of reading of the Qur'an were all revealed to the Prophet and transmitted in large numbers. So nobody should have any doubts. Nobody should have any doubts. It doesn't matter Yasir Qadhi, anybody else, doesn't matter the well-known people amongst the awam and so on. Yasir Qadhi is just a product of these times. Preservation of Qur'an is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. If somebody like Yasir Qadhi is not saying or said a few years back that he was unsure about one or two aspects, that's him. It's got nothing to do with the Qur'an, that's just him. If he's still not sure about, that's his issue. وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. But the book of Allah will remain what it always was the protected book by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I have no doubt about the Qur'an. In regards to decorating graves, question, does this apply to flowers and plants? The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to plant twigs. Litasbih, in order for the branch, like when somebody's buried, everybody's going to come out there with the most beautiful decorations and with like love your mom and love your dad and so on. The truth, just to be blunt and to the point about it, that does nothing for the person inside the grave. That's just your own emotions. And obviously you've lost somebody, so you're sensitive and does nothing. You want to actually do something, plant a branch in there. That's what the Prophet said. He took He took a branch, he split it in two, put it into one grave, put it into the other, and he said, as long as those branches are still alive, they will do tasbih, they will do dhikr, they will do dhikr. وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ. Everything in existence glorifies Allah, but you don't understand how it does so. You're inside the grave, you'll hear it loud and clear. You want to do something like the obsession with decorating graves. Do something for the one who's in the grave. Like, you're decorating to make it look lovely for you to feel that I'm doing something. Do something, plant something in, read some Qur'an, do some dhikr, make dua. That's the decoration of graves. That's what's going to help that person in the grave. Allahu A'lam. Allah. Sabasha wa alaykum salam, my brother. MashaAllah, give salam to your brother, MashaAllah. Ihsan. If the sound of thunder and the flash of lightning is anything to do with the smile or laughter of an angel. Yeah, the Prophet mentioned the thunder is the sound of an angel glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُسَبِّحُ الرَّعْدُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ مِنْ خِيفَتِهِ. Ar-Ra'd. And there is some narration from the Prophet that says the word in Arabic for thunder is Ar-Ra'd. Ar-Ra'd. Some narration says that's the name of an angel. Ra'd, thunder is the actual name of an angel. Even though based on meteorology that there's an understanding of what causes thunder and lightning, but there's another world beyond there. There's another world beyond. All what we're seeing is just calculations that have been able to give us an understanding of that, but there's another world beyond there that Allah and the Messenger told us about. So definitely, yes. I don't know about specifically smile or laughter of an angel. What the Qur'an indicates and what the Prophet indicates, tasbih, it's glorification. It's glorification. It's like when you hear a thunder and you're all panicking and so on, that's angels saying Subhanallah. وَيُسَبِّحُ الرَّعْدُ بِحَمْدِهِ. That's an angel saying Subhanallah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that thunder glorifies His praises. Glorifies His praises. And that's why it's sunnah to say when you hear thunder, Subhanalladhi yusabbihu ar-ra'du bihamdi. Glory be to the one that thunder glorifies His praises. Wallahu a'lam. Jazakallahu khairan. Yeah, mashallah. What's the answer? Mashallah, she's a fan now. Mashallah. She's asking, what's the method of performing Quranic sajdah? Is it one or two? It's one. It's one. So you have 4 different types of sajdah. So you have the normal sajdah of prayer, that's 2. You have sajdah sahw, if you make a mistake in prayer, that's 2. Then you have the sajdah of an ayah of the Qur'an and sajdah of shukr. Both of those are 1. So the 2 sajdas of prayer are 2. The sajdah of an ayah and the sajdah of shukr, they are 1. Wallahu a'lam. Can you recite the Qur'an whilst menstruating? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا يقرأ القرآن حائض ولا جنب. The Prophet ﷺ said, a menstruating woman and a sexually impure person cannot read the Qur'an. So the Prophet ﷺ forbade it. And that's the view of Abu Hanifa, it's the view of Imam Shafi, it's the view of Imam Ahmad. Imam Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala, he has the easiest view in that he says it's allowed for somebody who's learning Qur'an. Like a woman who's learning Qur'an or teaching Qur'an, she's allowed to do so. Wallahu a'lam. Let's come to the end because we're about to move. Allah. Ali Khalid, what's a good tafsir of the Qur'an? A good tafsir of the Qur'an is to find a good teacher who will explain the Qur'an to you. That's the best tafsir of the Qur'an. The Prophet was the tafsir of the Qur'an. He was the best tafsir. If you're finding a book to read, even Allah has blessed me that I have 1 or 2 books of tafsir, but if you've not studied it with a Shaykh of Qur'an, you'll get lost in that. You wouldn't know what you're looking for. You wouldn't know how to maneuver yourself. So spend time finding teachers of Qur'an and immerse yourself in them, and then start. You want to go start deeper, then look at what the prerequisite sciences that you need to learn, and then treat it properly. It's not just a light read. It's not just a light read. Wallahu a'lam. MashaAllah, Emil Fatima, MashaAllah. Wa alaikum salam. Have a nice time at home. I hope you have a nice day too. I've been reading my Ya Muhammad every night, MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khairan, Fatima. Allah. So, Tayyib, inshallah, I think we're pretty much done for time. These are only going to be about 1 hour, 15-minute sessions, even though there's so much to ask. So, inshallah, in 2 weeks' time, we'll have another session, and we'll go through some random questions again. And then also just to mention that tomorrow, it's on for those who have access to my Facebook page. I'll be doing a session with Shaykh Zain Abdul, with the Liverpool Islamic Society, Liverpool University Islamic Society, discussing issues around knowledge, the light of knowledge in the age of darkness. That'll be from 7 o'clock, I think 7 till 9 tomorrow. So you're welcome to join that session as well. That's not a question and answer. That's more of a conversation with Shaykh Zain about issues around knowledge. So you're all welcome to join that. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbana taqabbal minna bijahi an-nabiy al-kareem wa sirri asrar al-Fatiha. Bismillah.